Hello everyone, we're Group 5 from Pandas, and I'm Jacob.
I'm Yue. I'm Lucille.
I'm Qing.
Our final group project's title is Airbnb Rating and its Affecting Factors. So this is the general summary of how we're gonna organize our presentation. We're gonna start off with our business question we mainly wanna answer, and then we're gonna talk about the data, how we collected it, and how we managed it. Then we're gonna provide the methods of how we analyze the data, as well as models to aid the understanding and the analysis that relationship between independent and dependent variables. The analysis of the result was written down in the conclusion section, and we made some recommendation for both hosts and customers. Airbnb has been a flourishing trend of online booking services nowadays. It has advantage over other booking services in a way that it provides affordable price, easy reservation, and unique housing. As a result, more and more people are using this site after they decide to travel. People will usually look up the overrating as well as other factors such as cleanliness or location in order to seek for the best place during their vacations. However, travelers do not really know which factors affect the overratings, neither do the hosts. By answering our main question, can we predict the overrating by using other factors such as cleanliness, location, communication, check-in, and accuracy? We can get more detailed information about the overrating so that travelers can make better decisions and the host can provide better service. The review score of housing represents the overall quality and thus traveler's satisfaction. Our data from New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles include the overall review score as well as many factors such as cleanliness, location, communication, check-in, and accuracy. The overall review score was used as our dependent variable, while the previously mentioned factors were used as our independent variables. Our main question was divided into two parts. First, we wanted to see which three factors were most influenced the overall rating of housing on Airbnb. We did this by combining three data into one spreadsheet. Next, we wanted to see does the most influential factor in three cities vary from each other. We did this by separating the three data. Before we actually conducted our study, our assumptions were all the ratings are done by real customers and that the rating is an indicator of the quality of apartment. Next, Qing's gonna talk about the data.
We obtained our data source from InsideAirbnb.com, and we chose 3 files, including data from Chicago, which is a city from the middle part of US, New York, the city from the east part, and Los Angeles, a city from the west part. We used the most current data from 2018, and in the original data file, there were a lot of data, and we did data cleaning to eliminate some unnecessary information. We combined the 3 data files into one workbook, and we used rand function to choose a sample of 2,000 for each city, and to control variables, we only left apartment property type data, and we also eliminated unnecessary columns and rows, and only left the data we needed, like the overall review scores of cleanness, accuracy, value, checking, communication, and location. To make it clear, the review scores of checking refers to how smoothly the checking go, and the review score of value represents whether the customers feel the listing provided good value for the price. Since the city is categorical variable, we add a dummy variable and use 0, 1, 2 to represent city of Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. The other thing we also did is eliminating missing data and outliers. For our methods part, the main method we used in our analysis is regression. It helps us determine the significance of variables, and we can also check if we have eliminated all the outliers by looking at the residual plot. And we also tested the correlation to eliminate the influence of multicollinearity, and scatter plot is helpful to visualize the relationship between 2 variables. And I will pass to Lucille to talk about the correlation.
Now I would like to talk about the correlation among 3 cities. We basically analyzed the correlation between overall review scores rating and factors such as city, accuracy, value, cleanness, checking, communication, and location. We could see that the correlation between all variables here and the overall scores rating is positive. However, there is no obvious correlation between different city and the overall scores rating. It's telling us that it doesn't mean the apartment in Chicago will get higher overall rating than that in both New York and Los Angeles. So we believe city is an outlier. We also could see that accuracy has the highest correlation, and the value and cleanness, which also have relatively higher overall review scores than rest of 3 factors. And after we eliminate the outlier, which is city, we could see that location has the lowest correlation with the overall rating. Then in order to better visualize our data, we created scatter plots. From those 6 plots, we could see that all they have positive correlation between independent variables, such as shown above here, and the dependent variable, which is overall review score. For example, as the review score of accuracy gets higher, the overall review score also gets higher. Next, I would like to talk about the regression among 3 cities. We could see the R-square from our summary output here is around 0.77. We believe this is relatively high value because there's 76.59% of variables could be explained by our regression model. And we also look up the regression coefficients. Regression coefficients basically tells us that how much dependent variable is expected to increase when that independent variable increases by 1. For example, according to the formula down here, we could say about accuracy that the dependent variable, which is overall review score, is expected to increase by 2.6937 when that independent variable, which is accuracy, increases by 1. So we could also see that accuracy, value, cleanness, all of those 3 have relatively higher coefficients than other factors. We also look up the p-value. All the p-values here are smaller than the significance level, which is 0.05, which implies that all variables here are significant, especially including the city. Its p-value is also smaller than the significance level, which means that city, it is also significant in our regression model. And this is really important that it leads us to our second question, which is, does most influential factor vary in 3 cities? And now I would like to invite Molly to talk about the comparison among 3 cities.
Next, I'm going to talk about the correlation comparison among the 3 different cities. So based on our research, we found that the 3 different cities have different factors which most affect the overall review score. So for Chicago and Los Angeles, they have the accuracy, value, and cleanliness. And for New York, the top 3 factors are a little different, which are the value, communication, and cleanliness. And also among the 6 factors, we found that location has the weakest correlation with the review score ratings. And also, I'm going to talk about regression comparison among the 3 different cities. So first, the p-value, which is under 0.05, so it's considered to be statistically significant. So we know that different cities will have different factors which affect the overall review scores the most. And also based on the R-square value in the 3 different cities, so we can see here the values in the 3 cities are pretty high, which is greater than 70% and 80%. So based on these facts, we know the most data in the our sample can be explained by our regression model. And also, when we're working on the New York data, we found that the review score checked in the p-value is greater than 0.05. So we know that the check-in score in New York City is not related to the overall review score. And next, I'm going to have a conclusion for our findings. So first, after conducting a regression and correlation model, we know that the three factors which affect the overall score the most are the accuracy, value, and cleanliness. And also, we found that the top three influential factors in different cities are different. But it's not varied, it's just the significance is slightly different. So as I mentioned, the Chicago and Los Angeles have the same three factors, and it's just the order is different. And finally, I have recommendations for both hosts and customers. So for hosts, we encourage the Airbnb hosts to focus more on the accuracy, value, and cleanliness to improve their overall rating. And also, the hosts in different cities might focus on different aspects to improve the overall rating, since sometimes the different cities have different factors. And also, we have recommendations for customers. We know that in most cases, customers would only just focus on the overall review scores. However, based on our research, we know that different cities have different factors. For customers, we encourage our customers to not just focus on the overall review score and have a deeper look at each specific score. Since based on our findings, we know that the overall review score does not equally represent each specific score. For example, a high overall review score does not mean a high cleanliness score. So for customers who really care about cleanliness, we encourage them to look at the specific factor which they really care about. Finally, we really appreciate your time for listening our findings, and we really hope our findings could be helpful for both customers and hosts in Airbnb. Thank you.